Well, good morning, Kelowna, Penticton, and Victoria. This is the Garden Show. Ken Salville and Don Burnett here to help you with your gardening issues. And first of all, I want to, it's one day early, but it is Mother's Day tomorrow.
It is, yeah.
And I want to wish all the moms out there, they're very special, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to everyone.
They make a big deal of Mother's Day, which is good, I understand. And Dad's Day comes along. It's,
Yeah.
We get a pair of
season.
Socks or something for
Yeah.
No, Mother's. I've got Mother's and a very special happy Mother's Day to Lindsay, my daughter Lindsay. Yeah. She's going to have another baby in early June, about a month from now.
There you go.
So
Awesome.
it's exciting. Yeah,
Very
there
exciting.
You go. Another little girl, possibly a future mom. Who knows?
There you go.
Let's do the tips and plants of the week, Ken.
You betcha.
Okay, my tip of the week is if birds keep checking out your birdhouse and don't move in, you might want to check inside for a wasp nest.
Oh, yeah.
Even a small, unused one will cause them to recognize it as a threat. We were watching this. I'll talk about it after the show starts, but it's really quite fascinating what happened with our birdhouse there. My plant of the week is the Syringa penda bloomerang, which is the bloomerang lilac.
Right.
And it blooms now, massive blooms, and it's supposed to bloom again later.
It does, yeah. It blooms again in late August.
Yeah, bloomerang. What a neat name for it. Somebody come up with that. And it is showing off this year.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
A lot of the lilacs are enjoying that cold snap that we had, just like the old days, right? All right. I also have a tip and a plant this week. And my tip of the week is that when you're applying fertilizers, whether to pots or to the lawn areas or beds, is try to moisten those areas down first to start getting water to absorb into the soil, and then apply your fertilizer or fertilizer water to those plants, and then follow it up with another light rinsing of water, so that what that does is it just gets that fertilizer into the ground and down a little bit deeper where it can actually last and be utilized. All right, now my plant of the week this week is Dichondra, which is this beautiful little silvery vine that we use in annual planting baskets. And to me, I think it's just a very cool-looking plant, something that's bright silver color that hangs quite vertically straight down out of the planter, and just one of my all-time favorites. And I've been on the hunt for some of that recently, and hoping to get some soon. Dichondra, it's a very cool trailing plant for your annual baskets. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Ken, I got an email. I got several emails, but the one I didn't answer, I waited till we got here because I know it was something that you were talking about. And it's from a gal, Susan, and she is asking about the Italian green bean, which is most flavorful, and she wonders what variety. Now, I talked to you just before the show, and you said, well, you don't know the exact variety, but the company that sells it.
Yeah, it's it's an Italian company. The name is Italian. I can't remember the name, unfortunately. I'm doing my best here, folks.
Yeah,
but the package is the Italian flag. So I don't know. Some places stock these ones, and it's a whole rack of just Italian seed varieties. And within that seed rack is a whole bunch of different pole beans and green beans and that sort of thing. And one of the ones that they sell is a super long, skinny bean. And again, I don't really have the name of that off the top of my head, but it's over 12 inches long. Sometimes they're up to even like maybe as much as 16 inches long. Quite a long, skinny pole bean, and that is a really good one. And I've had it in the past, and I didn't actually get it this year because I went to look for that particular type of seed. And I haven't located it yet, but it does. It's out there somewhere. Somebody stocks that variety or that company. And that's one that I like to use. I'm sorry I don't have the name yet.
What a
but
tease.
I'll keep working on
Ken
it.
Salville is a tease.
Yeah. Well, see, that I'm sure that's all I said was there's this really nice,
that's right.
long, skinny Italian variety. It's super good.
Well, we'll do some homework on that.
Yeah, we'll have to do more homework. And I'm just planting my beans, literally today or tonight. I think I'm going to plant them. So I'll plant them indoors, pole beans, and I put them on a heated bench with a grow light. right, and get those things up and going. And they grow so fast. Within about a week, they're already 3 inches high. And so that means by next weekend, which is the May 24th, the long weekend, that's actually the 20th. But anyway, they're going out, and they got to be up and going by then. So I should have done them maybe last weekend.
Yeah.
But, it's fine.
I know how it is. Look at an early tomato she's wondering about. You can't really go wrong with early girl. You can,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a standard. We sold a lot of early girl tomatoes back in the day.
Yeah, and some varieties are just naturally early. Like I find that one that I like, it's called Big Beef. That's quite early. Like I'm always impressed by sometimes the first one that's getting some ripe tomatoes on it, even though I do have early varieties. And it's those, they just keep going and going and going right through till the fall. Really nice. A
cucumber with few seeds and thin skin. Now, you can't really beat the old Carmen that I grow every year.
Yeah.
It's an expensive seed to buy, but you can buy it.
Do you have any seeds left over or anything?
I got one seed saved for you.
It's got my name written on it.
But I've also got a bunch of young plants, so I'll fix you up. The difficulty I have with that particular cucumber, it gets wilt once in a while.
Yeah.
And I gave a cucumber to some folks, and Teresa Hodge actually is one of them, and she just let me know that her Carmen cucumber just wilted. And it's not unusual. I've seen it. I've seen it happen in my yard.
And that can be genetic too. It can, meaning it may pass through the seed. It's not really. I don't think it's really genetic, but it's really some diseases will spread through the seed itself. So from year to year, if you
I got a feeling you hit it on the nose though, a genetic thing because I look at the root and the root's okay, and there's no lesions or anything in the stems, and it just wilts. It's almost like a verticillium problem,
And it could be because verticillium does affect cucumbers.
Well, there you go.
And so that's a fungus. There's also a bacterial disease that affects them, and a virus that affects them that's quite common. So we have 3 different types of diseases there: fungus, bacterial, and viral. And those are 3 that do affect cucumbers. So I don't know, maybe, that's that thing with, cleaning the environment, using the rubbing alcohol to spritz down areas and to sort of sterilize everything before you start when you're doing your containerized phase. And then, once those things are up and growing, you get them in the ground as soon as you can. If you do have plants going into the ground, you don't want them to be going into the same spot as last year, if at all possible. At least move them over, 8 to 10 feet in a different direction at least. But, it's difficult. It's difficult. Like even for me, I do have a fairly large garden, but my pole bean, for example, situation is going to be the same as last year because I only change it every second year because it's just not, I only have so many spaces I can put it. And anyway, it's interesting.
Okay, cucumbers with few seeds, thin skin. If you can't get a hold of Carmen, you might want to look at some of the English Telegraph ones that are pretty much seedless.
Yeah.
And the Japanese long cucumber, that kind of thing. They're virtually seedless. And the skin's thin.
Super thin, You
so
can't
there you
say
go.
anything to it without it reacting.
Hopefully, Susan, if you're listening, that's helpful to you, except for Ken's answer, but that's okay. Anyway, hey, Ken, I'll tell you, we're helping out down at the tiny homes community, the step community, with a raised garden, and so we planted some zinnias, and we put in some coleus. And then we've got tomatoes started there, and we've got some radishes planted, sown, and carrots and whatnot. Went there the next day. Marmots. I'm figuring it's marmots.
Most likely.
Because I don't know what else. It's not birds, because they ate those coleus right down to the nub.
Yeah, and coleus are known to be deer resistant, but not marmot resistant.
No.
I've had this issue before with clients in the past where it's like they live in an area where you just can't do anything to stop the animals, the wildlife, because if you put anything in the planters that are deer food, well, the deer will eat them, but they will go work their way around things like osteospermums or, as you said, the zinnias. They'll work around those plants. The coleus, they don't like those plants. And then come the marmots, and the marmots are like, yeah, we don't care. We'll just eat everything.
Well, yeah, they're eating zinnias.
Yeah.
And they're eating the coleus for sure. And now we went a second time, and they're into one of the tomato plants.
Yeah,
so.
and again, usually deer don't typically eat tomatoes, but, there's rats too, unfortunately. I don't know. They're more
this is well fenced, so this community is well fenced off, so it's got to be marmots or something like that. I thought it was birds at first, but it can't be birds. They're not that, I think they don't eat plants like that.
Not usually,
but now, so my question to you is, I'm going to have set up one of those have a heart traps, the live traps for the marmot, Mr. Marmot. What's the best bait? I remember at Bylands, we used to put a petunia in there.
Yeah, petunias are one of their favorites for sure. And that's one thing when you're putting it in a live plant is that it gives you that longevity. It keeps it nice and fresh. We used to put a 6-pack of lettuce in there sometimes, or we'd put, just put some sort of a plant. We were having really good success with apples. So we would take an apple and just, cut it into like a quarter.
Oh, okay.
And then 1/4 of an apple, that would get them sometimes. Also the cantaloupe. There was one year we were using cantaloupe, and they were just going nuts for it. And every time you'd put it in there, you'd catch one every day. But they, after a while, they quit going for cantaloupe. I think they maybe got smart or something. I don't know.
Well, that's giving me some ideas. That's what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can trap this little guy. I don't know how many marmots are around, but
and I remember that one batch is usually around eight babies plus mama. And I don't know. I think the daddies are kind of.
Well, I'm going to take them and then take them wet in the bush and drop them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll go for a Sunday drive. We're going to take a short break. We invite your calls, 250-862-2525, to get through to us on The Garden Show. If you are a local here in the Okanagan area, 1-888-780-4273. If you're from Victoria or anywhere online, listening online, give us a call. We will help you out, and we'll be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, last night, I guess there was quite a light show. I missed it. John Tanner actually reminded me to have a look. It's the Northern Lights, it wasn't even I guess it is the Northern Lights. Some kind of a huge, it's all over Facebook right now. Everybody's posting their pictures of the light show in the sky, and I guess there was other reasons why. Some of the things that those sun's flares and whatever can cause issues with electronics and hydro and things like that. But anyways, quite a show. And I missed that for one of the reasons. I was focused on the hockey game last night. And unfortunately, the final was not exactly what we were hoping for, but it was close, and we'll see.
Oh, it's so tough.
See what happens when we go to Edmonton. It's hard to score in that game. It really is.
Yeah, the defense has been amazing on both sides, actually. So, yeah, it's great. It's great fun. It's exciting. It's stressful and all that, but we'll just see what happens. Not much you can do about it. I know I was yelling, but that didn't help.
Ken, here we go. Scott Austin, our good buddy from Penticton, who's been on radio for years and years. Worked at when it was Art Naps, he worked there in Penticton, and of course now with the new store, he's been there many years. And he was on the show a couple of weeks ago. The seeds are Mackenzie. The line is called Gusto Italia.
That's it. All right.
Here we go.
Way to go,
Gusto
Scott.
Italia. Scott, thank you. The beans are Santa Ana.
Ooh.
You're welcome. Have a great show. Off to the garden center for half a day.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look at
that. I would still get those if I could find them.
Yeah.
So I might have to go to Penticton.
Santa Ana.
Stop in and pick those up.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Hope you're listening, Susan. I will get back to you and reply on email with that answer.
Thanks, Scott. That was awesome.
Yeah. So there's a big deal right now with the with a bad bug that's come into town. It's on the emerald ash borer. Whether it's in town yet or not, I'm not sure. But they have found it down at the coast. Mm-hmm. It's devastating, and it affects all the fraxinus species.
Yeah, the green ash.
Green ash, not the mountain ash, but the green ash.
It's funny
fraxinus.
I'm not saying anything, but I am saying something.
Yeah.
In the on the news articles, they showed mountain ashes instead of green ashes, which are not really related at all.
Not even related.
No, not even related. Yeah.
No, the green ash, the fraxinus, mountain ash is sorbus.
Yeah, and sorbus are part of the rose family.
Yeah.
Not part of the ash family, I guess, the true ash. But that's why common names, you can't really trust them.
That's right.
You can only trust the botanical names.
We say that over and over and over again, we mean it. When we say it, we mean it.
Yep.
Stick with the botanical names, and you'll know exactly what's going on. Anyway, notice from the CNLA, Canadian Nursery Landscape Association, and the BCLNA are requesting compensations for growers who incurred losses as a result of the U.S. ban on boxwood, euonymus, and ilex since May 21. It's kind of interesting, this stuff. Anyway, I have to go to the phone lines now because we've got Ronnie from Victoria. Ronnie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. A while ago, you were talking about potatoes, and I just want to be absolutely sure I heard this right. You said to put the potato pieces on 3 to 4 inches of soil. I'm growing in grow bags, not in the ground. Mm-hmm. And then to put the potatoes on top of that and then fill the rest of the bag up with soil instead of waiting for greenery to show up and then piling more soil on?
Yeah, well, there's a few different rules of thought with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, we've had people who just would lay the potatoes out on the ground and then bury them in straw, and they would shoot up and they would produce all their potatoes sort of right on the surface of the soil. Oh, and then they would just remove the straw and grab their potatoes.
Nice and clean.
It's nice and clean and easy to go. But there's just a myriad of ways of doing it, and it's all relatively easy. I think if you're doing a grow bag thing, it seems like you almost don't need the grow bag thing. If you grow them in grow bags, just make sure you have the drainage in them and just plant them straight into the grow bags and they'll be fine. They'll just grow, and then all your potatoes will be within that bag.
But you need obviously soil in there.
Yeah, you just use potting soil when you're working with anything that's in a container, whether it's a bag or a pot or whatever. You would always use a quality potting soil of some sort.
Yeah,
because that potting soil is going to be ideal for those types of conditions. And then the trick is with potting soils is they are a bit on the moist side for potatoes, so you have to kind of watch them, especially once they mature, and then you get into this wilt cycle where they'll suck up all the water and then they'll wilt, and then you have to, re-water them again, and it's a bit of a vicious cycle. But I'm just thinking about the size of the bag. The bigger the bag, the better.
They're at least 10 gallons.
Wow, yeah, so that's great. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, no, I don't foresee any issues, but I'm just trying to think of that concept is definitely just on the earth, where you lay them out on the earth and then bury them in straw is what they've often done. And
okay.
That works as well. But there's so many different ways to grow potatoes. Now, the other factor is this thing about the what's it called there? The determinate and indeterminate varieties of potatoes.
Right.
So some varieties are going to be indeterminate, and that means that they can be hilled, and you keep getting these multiple crops. They just keep on going and going and going. And so those are indeterminate varieties, also known as late potatoes.
Okay.
The early potatoes are determinate, and that just means they don't need any hilling. It's not going to be beneficial to them. They're just going to produce a crop and be done. So.
Okay.
So those are just maybe a consideration for in your situation there.
Okay, so do you think that I should just cover it up with a bit of soil and wait until things start growing through and then put more soil on?
Only if it's a late variety.
Only if it's a late variety.
Yeah.
Okay, these ones say they're summer.
Yeah, they're they don't always tell you.
No,
you
they
can you have to
Google.
look up the variety and try to see if it's determinate or indeterminate.
okay.
Ronnie, we're going to have
had
to...
an article on our Grower Coach website that was in our blog area that I wrote about determinate and indeterminate varieties. I had a small list there. Didn't include all of them, but it had some of them on
Okay,
there.
thanks very much.
Thank you,
guys.
Ronnie. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Got a couple more calls here that we need to deal with, and Gail from Kelowna is on the line. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning. I don't have a gardening question as such, but I have a tree that I would like to know. In our backyard, we live in a community where the lawns get cut by riding mowers, things. And the other day, the guy that was cutting the grass there took quite a chunk out of our tree. It's a rowan oak sort of thing. And the piece that he took out of the tree is now peeling like an open sore, like it's about 5 inches long and 2.5 inches wide, and it's starting to dry all around. It took the outside bark right off to this. You can see the center of the tree. Is there anything that we should be doing to heal that up again?
No, Gail, the tree, the tree is going to manage that by itself.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to leave a scar for a while, and then eventually it will all fill in. It's called occlusion. It'll occlude. So yeah, the tree, the old school thoughts of putting pruning paint on and that sort of thing are now not viable. Just let the tree do its own healing. Or we don't even like to call it healing, but it'll manage that wound by putting what they call wound wood over top of the wound. And in the next couple of years, you'll see it kind of just
disappear.
It'll disappear, and it'll just be a mark on the bark kind of thing.
Oh, well, that's okay. I was just concerned that maybe something would start nesting in there or something.
No, the tree has to take care of itself, and it will. It's called compartmentalization of disease in trees, and it'll do that. Okay.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. I was worried about losing this tree.
Thanks, Gail. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And quickly, we've got Kathy from Victoria. Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a lipstick plant. I don't know what you call it. Other than that, and it's really, really thriving here and getting more, not blossoms, but lipsticks on it. And anyways, it loves this window. It's just a beautiful, it's lots of sun coming in the morning. We're in the lower level of a house. And so I'm wondering, and we get the sun in the morning, but not in the afternoon. So I am wondering if I can put that out for the summer while the weather's nice, or do they thrive outdoors?
Victoria?
They will, like indoors, they are they want bright light indoors, so closer to a window. But when you put them outdoors, you put them into sort of a shaded location.
Yes.
So if that makes any sense.
It is good to put them in a shaded location?
Yeah. They're not going to adapt to the bright. They can adapt to the bright light over time, but
it scars them.
But it just causes some sunburn on the leaves. The other factor is that and this is just from me is that if you have a plant and everything's going great, sometimes just don't even touch it. Just let it be, and you're on this roll and it's doing good and it's happy.
Sure.
Whatever you're doing, just keep it up.
Okay.
And then and so but sometimes it's one of those things, like in my house I kick everything outside in the summertime, but I watch those night temperatures. I don't want it to be too cold because they don't like to really go below about 10 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow.
At night.
That right?
So that's why daytime temperatures don't matter as much, but night is critical. Sure. So then we move them outside, and it's more like summertime. I usually wait almost till June, but then I get them out into a shaded place where they're not in full sun. It's kind of dappled a bit, and they get used to the sun and get used to the temperatures. And they gradually adapt. Sometimes plants go into shock when you do that, and they'll shed a bunch of leaves and go into this distress. But then they come back and start to grow again, and they're fine. So it's just one of these things. It's up to you. If you're enjoying it indoors and it's in a nice spot and everything's fine, then don't change it.
Yeah. No, okay. I don't think I will because we live right next to that. We're on Cetus Lake area. We live right next to the forest and the lake, and it does get cool in the mornings. So, okay, I will not bother. But anyways, they're getting so big and kind of falling over. Do they like being staked up at all?
Oh, they can be. I'm just wondering if you've got the which variety you have there. Whether
larger leaf or
it's a large leaf. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So it might be a different variety. The lipsticks themselves are usually what's called Kelowna vulgaris, Kelowna. It's a species of trailing plant that hangs straight down off of the that comes right off the plant. So again, that's the thing with common names. We never really know what we're dealing with. The other ones are like those shrimp plants, which is another family that are often, they might have different names. So anyway,
you can trim it back.
You can definitely, and if anything else, try looking it up a bit to try to just get the botanical name if possible. And then if you do happen to get the exact botanical name, then you can always check back with us, and that way we can kind of nail it down as to what care it needs. But I'm really sticking with my first.
I think I will too, because I nursed it all winter. It didn't like it's dark, and and I was so pleased that it finally came, and 2 or 3 of them are coming.
Yeah. Nice.
So perhaps I'll just leave well enough alone. I thought I wanted to check with you guys just to be
I think
sure.
that's good advice from Ken. The other thing that I might just add before we take the break here is when you put something outside, possibly pick something up, little critters or something on the plant, and then you bring it back inside, and they're just loving it, and then you've got an issue. So that's one of the reasons that Ken was saying, you start moving around. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, I think I like that one.
Okay.
I'll leave it where it is because I'm enjoying it.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate the call.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
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 Okay, we're going to take a short break there. We got Dan Bruce waiting to talk to us for a few minutes, and we will be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, we've got Dan Bruce on the line. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
I've got all my tropicals and succulents and cacti and everything, even my Lophophora. Everything's outside now.
Well, mine are as well.
Yeah. Isn't it a nice time of year to be able to do that? I love it.
It's been dipping down at night over the last little while, and I thought, I put some things out on the veranda and then brought them in again, and that Jack-in-the-Box performance is over.
Yeah. We're done. We're done. Yeah. Well, that's good.
So I bring the house plants out during the summer, but then I also have pots on the veranda where annual things are put.
Yes.
And this year, sort of going with what succeeded last year.
Yeah. What did succeed? How what's your favorite annual to plant and most successful?
Well, my favorite thing last year was the big-leaved, giant-leaved alocasia.
Ah, yes.
A variety called Calidora. Got it from the greenery. By the end of summer, the leaves were pushing against the veranda roof.
Wow.
So they're over 7 feet.
Now, you were able to save that. That's a kind of a bulbous tuber or something, isn't it, down there?
Yes, sort of like taro,
Yeah.
No, I did not keep it over the winter because I have no place in the house to put it.
Can't you just cut it back, let it go dormant like a begonia, or no?
Well, you can do, yes.
Yeah.
And it needs quite a bit of water when it's growing, but if you're going to overwinter it, then you cut right back on the water. But as I said, I gave mine away last fall, and starting again from scratch.
What was the name of that again? I want to write it down.
Alocasia.
Well, I know the alocasia part, but what the variety?
Calidora. Calidora.
Calidora.
Yeah.
Alocasia. Calodora. Well, that's good. I'm going to try. I've always wanted to grow one. I saw them when I was down in Australia in garden beds, and it was just incredible. And I thought, I'm going to try and grow one of those. And I just haven't got the ones that I've got haven't got the larger leaves, you know.
This one gets big, and it's a greedy feeder.
Will it?
You need a lot of humus and rich soil.
What about sun exposure?
Mine was in, I guess you would call it pretty much full sun.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that didn't stop it. Now, the alocasia, the leaves are like sort of gigantic arrow points,
right,
pointing upward. And colocasia is a similar thing, but the leaves, the stem comes up high, and then the leaf actually points down.
Yeah, it's quite distinctive difference.
Yeah.
I tried colocasia last year, but it developed a mildew on it that was really sort of weird. And the other one, alocasia, was so much more successful. I thought, no, this is the way to go.
Right on. So, what else do you use for color?
Well, my mother always insisted that the front door be surrounded by red geraniums. And a suggestion of mine at one point that it might vary the color was met with one of Mother's looks.
Hazel, I tell you, yeah.
Nothing was said, but I got the message loud and clear.
Be careful what you say about your dear departed mother, because it's Mother's Day tomorrow, so just be careful.
It is, and she can rest assured that the Rocky Mountain Dark Red is the variety.
Okay.
And it's very successul.
I know. I know that every time I come to visit you in the summertime, there's red geraniums at the front door there.
Well, and on the on the other side of the house, on the veranda, last year I had good success with scarlet runner beans in a big pot. Mm-hmm. And then I had marigolds and zinnias in honor of the Aztecs, who grew scarlet runner beans and all that stuff.
Well, there you go, honoring the Aztecs. That's pretty cool.
They didn't have geraniums, but they certainly had the others. Marigolds are, they get muddled up with names and call them African marigolds. Well, why?
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead.
The marigold flower, of course, is used a great deal in Mexico in and around the celebration of the Day of the Dead.
Okay.
So it's a well-known and favorite decorative plant in Mexico. And the scarlet runner, of course, is also decorative, but it does produce beans. Mm-hmm. And I remember Alistair Betty always had them out in the mission.
Now, just getting back to geraniums, the geranium that we grow as garden plant, annual garden plant, is actually a perennial in a warmer climate, right?
Yes.
And what is the relationship to the perennial geranium that we grow here in the gardens, like Johnson's Blue and that sort of thing?
Well, they're closely related. As far as I know, they're quite closely related. But they're the Johnson's Blue and those are hardy, at least most of the time. Can't keep them alive here, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And there's wild, what they call crane's bills.
Right.
Which are can be blue, but around here the wild form is, I think, pink. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's quite a family, but the genus is geranium, right?
I think that's been split up a little bit now. But geraniums are, I mean, the Johnson's Blue is yes, that is geranium. Yeah.
Yep.
And, of course, as we keep on saying, the name is important because without the proper name, you really don't know what it is you've got.
That's right.
It's like going into the supermarket and buying a can labeled soup.
That's a great analogy. Look at Dan. We're at the quarter of the hour here. We're going to have to run, but always appreciate your insight.
I will be back after the next week. Don't forget, Mother's Day Fair at Fintry is Sunday. That is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Perfect.
We should, yeah, absolutely. Can't forget about that.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, yes, we want to remind people that tomorrow morning.
Yes, at Fintry. And remember, the Oxa sale is
today. We got
today.
the Oxas, we'll talk about that as well.
And the Lake Country Garden Club is having their plant sale today
let's
as well.
chat about that, eh, Ken?
Swalwell Park, you betcha.
We'll make sure everybody knows about that when we come back with the Garden Show after this short break. And we are back, and Sigri's ears must have been burning because we were just talking about the Oxa plant sale. And Sigri is on the line now. Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yes, we have our sale today from 10 until 3 at 840 Old Vernon Road. We have hundreds of xeriscape plants available. We had a pre-sale for members last night from 5 to 7. And it was a fantastic show for everybody involved, and thankful for that. But we still have lots of plants available if people want to come and see us for their xeriscape plant needs.
Right, and that's down off of Reed's Corner there.
Yeah.
Turn right onto Old Vernon Road and just head right down almost to the end, and on the left there.
Yeah, before that sharp corner. And we have lots of signs out, lots of parking on site. So come on down and visit us.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Sigri,
nice
I
spot.
appreciate the call because it's a very important time to consider getting a little drier. Thinking
We
a little
have
on the drier
the
side.
lowest snowpack in 50 years.
I know it's urgent right now. Actually,
It really is. It really is. So if we can convert people to xeriscape, the more the merrier.
And
I always say, come on over to the dry side.
yeah, and I even say to them too, rather than jump with both feet all of a sudden, start working with it so you get used to doing that with small areas of the garden, an area that, I'm converting my sprinkler system out front from overheads that, you see the water going down the street to drip, and I'll keep it right away from the juniper and keep it right away from anything else that, that doesn't need the water. That's sort of where I'm at. But we really appreciate your call. And folks, head out to the Okanagan Xeriscape Association plant sale today.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.
We'll
Take care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Sigrid. Bye-bye.
And we have Ralph from Coquitlam on the line. Good morning, Ralph.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I've been listening to you guys on the internet since last fall.
Oh, nice.
And you have often mentioned growing onions. And my feeling is that you think they're easy to grow.
Well,
no.
They are, other than a few issues that you might have, the maggot, the onion maggot. No. You can also have issues with too much water. They can rot.
I don't get that far. I've tried Walla Walla and several other different varieties, and I plant them or I seed them in January, February under grow lights, and they germinate wonderfully, and they come up. I've tried suggestions from the internet about trimming them, and I've trimmed some and not others, and I've fiddled with more or less water and extended the length of the grow lights as they start growing, and they've never got out to the garden. They get up so far, and then all of a sudden they turn brown and collapse. Any idea what I'm doing wrong?
Well, there's a lot of diseases that affect plants when they're in containers. It's the most difficult way to grow plants when you're growing them in containers because they're so fragile. Any little thing that goes wrong, too wet, too dry, poor light, there's all kinds of factors that affect plants in containers or 6-packs or whatever they're growing in. Yeah. When they're outside in the soil, they're in their natural environment, and it's actually in some ways a little bit easier to grow. One thing you might try, just because in your area you'll get a little bit more precipitation than what we would normally get here, but a lot of the growers, they'll actually plant their onions out. They'll direct seed into the garden on like August 1st, and they will plant their garden for all their onions. They'll plant them into the ground, and then they'll cover it with a little bit of insect screening to keep the insects off of them. And then they just let them shoot up in August, and they grow into the fall, and then they naturally just go right through the winter. They love to grow during the winter time. And in your area, if you get a lot of intensive rainfall over winter, that may affect the plants. But remember to start with nice, rich garden soil, because that is one thing. Like I've grown a lot of onions over the years, and I've had a lot of failures. And it wasn't until I really started digging in nice compost into about, that upper 10 inches of soil, or adding beautiful, rich compost on the surface, was sort of what got my onions off to a good start, and they really did much better. And
Ralph, starting them inside, it adds more concerns when you're growing them inside under grow lights. My suggestion to you would be to plant the seed with the Walla Wallas, plant the seed in August this year, and it'll come up in the garden next year and start producing for you. So they never see the inside of the house. And then also you could even plant some onion seeds in the garden right now and still be successful. By fall, you'll have some onions in the garden. So starting them indoors, it's all right when you have greenhouse conditions like we used to do, and what I've done.
Yeah, bright grow lights are helpful, but even then,
in the house, they're a sunny lover, and
cool
I think that's where you're failing. I think, Ralph, you want to get plant those seeds right directly into the garden, and do it right away, and you'll still have some results.
I went to the indoor growing idea because it's so wet here.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if it's possible to have some sort of a small cover of some sort just to deflect the rain off of those that one little section.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of things that really make it difficult, eh?
I've tried using galoshes, but the neighbor considers them unsightly. So
there you go. Ralph, we're going to have to go into another caller here, but we do appreciate your call.
Yeah, thanks for trying.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, take care.
Yeah, thanks.
And we have Renee from Kelowna on the line. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, I've got a couple of questions for you. You cut me off when I'm asked too many, but I'll try to go fast.
Sure.
I have a flowering or an ornamental plum tree, 20 years old, beautiful. It blooms every April, nice and white. This year, it did not. Am I in trouble?
They just freeze in the wintertime. Ornamental plums only survive really well down to about minus 25 degrees Celsius. In this past 2 winters, we've had below minus 30, and it literally freezes all the flower buds off them and causes damage.
Okay, like it looks a little more sparse than usual, so I'm a little worried. It's also got some, dead things, a bunch of dead branches that I guess we'll remove.
That's frost injury, yep, you bet.
Okay. Think it's going to make it?
Well, check. It'll probably make it, but check at the base, too. They're prone to peach borer, so see if there's any gumming or anything evident at the base of the tree right at ground level.
Okay. Second question is, last year we took out a Rubino locust. We ground it down. Can I grow anything in that area, a shrub or perhaps even a tree?
Yeah, it should be fine. They do tend to sucker up from the root systems, and that's just sort of the worst part of it. But other than that, there shouldn't be any issue planting in there.
Since we got it ground down, it was good. But you're right. I had talked to you last year because I had suckers all over the place, and you said I had an angry tree. You were so right. Got rid of the whole thing, and it's been great since.
Yeah, and just remember, any of the sawdust or wood chips really deters plant growth for the first year, and after that, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, we do have that. Okay, next question. I have an Annabelle hydrangea, beautiful, 4 of them. It's not a bush anymore, it's a hedge. Mm-hmm. My only complaint is the flowers are so big, it looks so great, but you get a little bit of rain at the end of June, mm-hmm. they flop over, and we just always struggle with, it was so beautiful, and now it's just droopy.
So, yeah.
Any suggestion about keeping it upright or something to strengthen it a bit?
Yep, we definitely have to do this quick. What I do is I cut them off at about 24 inches high, 18 to 24 inches high. That's as low as I go, and it gives some support, gets the plants off the ground a little bit. And then if you know it's going to flop, you have to withhold a bit of water so it doesn't get too soft, and also consider peony rings, that sort of thing, to help support it, and that's helpful.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move on. We've got one more caller from Victoria, but I appreciate your calls. You betcha, Renee.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Now,
Actually,
Leslie, we don't have, we only got a half a minute here, but I want to recognize the fact that you're waiting to hear us, and we will definitely answer your gardening questions when we come back. But, so I just want to make sure that you understand we're going to take the big break, and we will talk to you when we come back after the break. So thanks for your patience. And we are now at the point here where we're going to take that middle of the show break. And we will be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you on a beautiful spring day, just one day short of Mother's Day. And again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Leslie from Victoria, thank you for waiting, Leslie. You're on the air.
Thank you. I have a tomato plant. It's a beefsteak one. Mm-hmm. And I want to plant it in the backyard. However, we have deer around, and I'm wondering what I can do, and do I need to stake it, and how high will it grow?
Well, if it's a beefsteak type, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be one of the big, giant beefsteak ones, but a lot of beefsteak varieties get quite large. And so what I would be doing is potentially putting a piece of fencing around it, so you can get some of this wire fencing that's available. Sometimes it's like stucco wire. It's really, you can use just about any kind of a wire fencing, and you put a hoop around it, at least about 3 feet in diameter. But it's very light, and you can remove it, but you need to put a stake on that fencing so that the animals don't kick it over or move it. And then when it gets closer time to harvest it, that actual fencing becomes part of the actual support for the plant. Right. So the plant can actually lean on it, and it just makes it harder for the animals to get into it. They may
nibble a bit of foliage that comes outside the fence, through the fence.
Yeah.
But they can't get right at the plant. So Ken, deer love tomatoes?
Not their favorite. They will nibble from time to time, but it's not their number one favorite. But we have a lot of other animals like marmots and even rats and things can be a problem. So,
yeah. Well, Leslie, I hope you are successful with that, because you can get your tomato out and sunny spot, and as Ken said, go and get some stiff stucco wire type of thing. Make a hoop, make a circle fence that'll go right around the plant. Some of that stuff you can actually reach through and do your harvesting and that by leaving it in place as a support for the plant.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the call.
Mm-hmm. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, it's always a bit challenging, I think, for everybody, like depending on where you live and what your situation is like some people do have like sort of assorted building materials on their property already, like out in the shed. They might have an old piece of fencing or something, and that can be excellent for recycling for that kind of a use. Whenever it's possible, and I know it's not always possible for everybody, but for some people it is possible to actually build themselves like a cage out in the backyard that has a bit of a maybe like a 6x6 tie base with and instead of just having like putting a little bit of fencing on it or a fence around it, they actually built a cage that's a full 7 feet high and by whatever it is 10 by 8 or something, and it's like a cage with a door on it, and you go inside and you can have all your gardens in there and nothing can get in there to other than probably mice or rats might be the only thing. But as far as the animals go, that sometimes is really what you have to do because the animals are so determined to get into these things, right?
Got to go back to the phone lines, Ken, but just before I do, will marmots climb chicken wire?
I don't think so. Like where we've had marmot problems, we've been able to keep them out with just like we use deer fencing, which is sort of a soft-ish black nylon type fencing, and that's worked pretty well. You just have to make sure it's low to the ground because they tunnel the little. They tunnel.
Well, we're gonna staple it to the board of this raised bed.
Yeah, we bend it outward, so it's bent about 18 inches outwards away from the bed, and then it goes up the fence about 3 feet.
You bet.
And usually that's good for marmots. The deer don't care about that; they just ignore it, walk right over it, jump over it, whatever. If you want deer fencing, it's got to be 7'6" tall.
Well, there you go.
Keep them out.
With deer, but not for marmots. We're going to go right back to the phone lines because we do have a caller again from Victoria. Carolyn. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First time calling, long time listener, or at least as long as it's been in Victoria, I think.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. I have a rosemary question. I have a little allotment garden in James Bay neighborhood of Victoria, and the rosemary plant was there when I took over the plot 14 years ago, and it was probably that old then. Like the base of the trunk is probably 5 inches. And it's suffering. It used to be this beautiful lush with dark purple, and it's kind of a weeping type of one. It doesn't grow straight up or anything.
Yes.
It comes up and over like a 3-foot fence, and it used to be this like just waterfall of green and purple. But it is so straggly and sparse now, and it does not look lush. And I'm wondering, does it have a lifespan? Like, is it like just done, or is there something I can do to remediate it?
Yeah, rosemary prostrata is the variety that you have there, and it is it's like a creeping variety of rosemary, and it has, like you say, it's a little bit pendulous or weeps a little bit. But that plant, over time they can get weak. Over time, they run out of vigor. The hard frost that we've had in the last 2 years has been hard on them. So basically, you can try one of two things. One is rejuvenation, where you do just go in, and number one is cut out all the dead stuff. So you're just down to a framework. That's the first step. The other one is cut the whole thing down to about maybe 18 inches or so, and just keep the base and let it grow back up and over. It's an interesting plant. It's quite beautiful when it's healthy and growing. Keeping in mind, right now we're at the beginning of the growth phase, so we've got a lot of months of growth ahead of us. So hopefully, recovering from the winter, will take a little while, and hopefully by the summer. Well, it's kind of declined
even since it was last year. It wasn't itself either.
Yeah. I think it's the cold snaps.
I'm confused about the prostrata thing, because the trunk it's kind of a contorted, like almost an S curve, and it goes up about 3 feet. Like, I've pruned all the lower branches off over the years, and then it goes over a 3-foot fence and then weeps down from there. But it's self-supported. It's not growing on the ground. Is that still the prostrata?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was supported. It was supported at the beginning to grow upwards a bit. And that's why you got that curved trunk, because it was trying to lay down, but somebody supported it in the early days and had it grow up.
And a lot of these creeping plants, that's what they want to do, is if they're creeping, because prostrata, that's sort of what it means, is creeping.
That's what I thought.
But what it'll do is it'll get onto a fence or something, and it'll creep up the fence too. So it's it's not only horizontal, but it's vertical as well. So
and I'm going to suggest to you that you are suffering from those two frosts we had. December frost in 2023, and the January frost in 2024. Even in Victoria, you have plants there that were used. We could never grow that plant here in the Okanagan, period. Yeah. But because you did have some unseasonable weather for Victoria, I think that's your issue, and chances are that plant will, if we get some decent winters coming up, that plant will recover. I've got the same. I've got
cover it or something in the winter. I haven't done anything really to protect it in the winter time.
Do cover it with a big blanket or something, or a quilt or something when it gets really cold. If we have those snaps again, like for instance, I have a Magnolia grandiflora, and it's hurting this year, but it will recover. It's starting to push. I'm just going to have to regrow it and get it back into its beautiful shape again, because every leaf on it was damaged over the winter because it's an evergreen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now at this time of year, like I said, the trunk all the way up the one side of the fence. I mean, it starts at probably about 5 inches, and it's a very big trunk kind of thing coming up. I mean, I'm not going to cut it all the way back.
No. But just like Ken said, identify the absolute dead wood and clean that out, and that lets the light in and everything to help with recovery. Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of time. Just give it some time, and you will, I think, be surprised and pleased with the results. I think it will come back.
And when you're cutting,
so don't fertilize it or anything, or
sure,
give some food.
Give them some food for sure.
Okay.
But the when you're cutting plants back, whatever they are, is try not to just cut back to like stubs of dead wood or not growing wood. You always cut back to where there's some green showing. And so if you decide that you want to rejuvenate it, you still have to leave small shoots and green growth because so you keep the main stem and any of the green growth coming off of it, and then hopefully it just regrows from that. But it's just one of these things that older growth on plants tends not to actually respond. The younger, small twigs and stuff will respond. So that's the key, is always keep some of that new growth.
It's not a lush green anymore or anything, and even the flowers don't seem as vibrant, dark purple as they used to be.
Carolyn, you've probably got winter damage, and the cambium has been damaged. Hopefully that plant will rejuvenate itself and come back. Okay. But like I say, it's definitely because in the last couple of years we've had that real cold. We're going to have to run. We've got.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Carolyn. We appreciate
it. Just in case.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Okay, take care.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
And we're right at the 15 after mark here, and I think we should take that break. Pam, you hang on. You're from Kelowna, Pam, and just hang on there, because right after the break, we're going to take your call, and we will be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Okie dokie, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning here in Kelowna, and it's beautiful just about everywhere in BC right now. And we want to talk to Pam from Kelowna. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Wow, it is just exactly what we've been waiting for, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A weekend with sunshine and moderate temperatures. Oh, so good.
Plants are hopping.
They are. I just peeked out in my backyard, and I had transplanted a bunch of little seedling starts over the last couple of days. And sometimes, they just kind of have a little bit of a woe is me period of time when they get transplanted, but not right now. No, they are just stretching their little root toes and just finding their way. Looks really good.
Good description. Yeah.
Hey, got a couple of questions. One, is it too early to put dahlias that have been in pots? Like I started the tubers a while ago. They're bushed out. They're like between 8 and 10 inches tall. They've been outside for the last week and a half. If there was a dip in temperature, I brought them in for the night, but they've been outside, exposed to sunshine on a south-facing thing. Can they go out in their
I would put Pam. I would put them out. I'm putting mine out this afternoon. I think. Yeah. They will, especially after you've hardened them off like that. That's fine.
Oh yeah, they're well adjusted. They are okay with the hot sun. I just thought, I could probably size them up into a bigger pot. They've been in their little starter pots.
I'd get them in the ground.
Okay, that's perfect. And the other thing I just want to mention, you've had a couple calls about people having plants that are slow to start this year, or maybe got really wounded or bruised in the winter harshness. My beautyberry bush, has had two assaults the last 2 winters. Yeah. Last year it came back from the ground, and last night I was out in the yard thinking, okay, are you coming back? Are you coming back? And I realized, it's coming back, but from the ground. Yep. All the 5-6 inch, sticks that grew last year are toast. They're just going to be support for somebody else.
Yeah, mine's the same. My beautyberry is just trash this year. It is starting to push a little bit at the base, maybe 2 shoots coming at the base. I'm going to let it grow and see what happens. But that's it's just not perfectly hardy here in the Okanagan. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's not hardy to what we. It wasn't the cold necessarily. It was the way it got cold and
that transition.
Just bang out of nowhere. It got cold,
brutal.
And the plants just weren't used to it. And I think that's part of the reason. But there's nothing we can do about that, Pam. That's gardening.
You know what? I call that a cold snap mugging. Like you didn't see it coming, and all of a sudden it just whacked you in the back of the head, and you were gone. You know, like the guy was the bad guy was gone. Because it was all over almost as fast as it started.
Yep.
But the damage was done. Yeah.
Yep.
But Don, hold out for your bush, because last year mine took a massive hit. Like it was absolutely everything above the ground was dead.
Yep.
And it came back, and I was shocked at how much it could grow in a growing season.
Yes.
We're talking 5.5 foot.
Yeah, well, because the root is there, and that's what I'm hoping with my kiwi that I've lost, that it is growing at the base. I'm hoping that if I just leave that kiwi in, I got Sal Caruso coming over this afternoon to have a look at it, but I think if I just leave that kiwi in and let that growth come from the base, that's a lot better than planting a new one. Mm-hmm. Because you've got that big root system. Pam, we've got to go. We've got one more caller here.
Thanks.
Appreciate the call always. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Pam. Bye-bye.
And we welcome Henry to the show. Good morning, Henry.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I'm just curious, why do we have potting soil and garden soil? Why can't I use garden soil in a pot?
Yeah, it's because of the porosity. When you grow plants in pots, it's like a completely different animal. Some people have success, generally through luck more than anything. But see, potting soil is actually scientifically designed to have a huge amount of oxygen in it, a lot of airspace, but at the same time hold a huge amount of water, because the plants don't have sort of an unlimited root zone. They have to stay in just in that little space and survive for long periods of time on just what's in that pot. So what happens is you have to have this perfect environment with lots and lots of air and lots of water to keep the plants happy and healthy in that environment. And so that's, again, when you use soil out of the earth, every scoop you take is different, and you just don't know, is this porous enough or is it not porous? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's super heavy, that's for sure. So if you put it in a pot, you can barely move the pot, right? Whereas potting soils are nice and light, so you can move them around. So there's a bunch of reasons why using potting soil instead of earth. But that doesn't mean people haven't had success with it, and they've certainly tried, and they sometimes are great and sometimes not.
And Henry, I can add a little bit to that too, because I'm much older than Ken.
Way older, Don.
Way older than Ken. And my first job, and I've mentioned this on the radio before, but you perhaps hadn't heard it. My first job with my father in the nursery in the garden center greenhouse operation was to take old clay pots and a hammer and break them up into chunks, right? And we in those days, Dad and Grandpa used garden soil, regular topsoil. They would add something to it to break it up a bit, maybe some perlite and some vermiculite or something. But it was topsoil, and what we needed to do was to put a layer of aggregate, and in this case it was the broken up pottery, in the bottom of all the containers that we grew, because that did exactly what Ken was saying. It offered, when those roots got down into there, it gave them the oxygen that they need. Right? Yeah. Well, since we started using potting soil with lots of porosity and lots of water holding capabilities, but lots of oxygen, we haven't had to put any of that gravel in the bottom or so. And that's what a lot of people say, well, should I put some gravel in the bottom of the pot? You don't have to with potting soil. It's just if you are using heavier soil, then you want to have some area at the bottom where the roots can get in and breathe.
I see.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay, that's good. I often wondered why I have to buy two types of soil.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you put it in the earth, it's a different ball of wax.
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah. Thanks,
Henry.
Henry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Henry. Take care. Yeah, it's quite fascinating, how the industry in general has changed, and it's quite fascinating how the industry in general hasn't changed. I mean, there's some changes.
Yeah, as a professional grower over the years that I've had to do porosity tests on all kinds of things, and the interesting thing, we learned so much by doing, I don't know, like 50,000 pots or something crazy, all different sizes, all different types of soils, and we had to measure the porosity for each one, and to come up with the best soil mixes, right, for professional growing. And it was very challenging, and the interesting thing we learned was that every pot size had a different porosity requirement. So it's like if you really wanted to nail it bang on, you would have to have almost a different type of soil for every pot size. So what we did is we came up with this happy medium somewhere in between. We needed to have between 25 and 30% airspace in every single pot. And that's where we found if we were just over the 25% airspace, so up to around 28% was sort of a spot. If you could hit that, you were good for almost all pot sizes. And so that's what we basically learned. So it's a huge amount. If you think of that whole volume of that entire pot, it's got to be at least 25% oxygen or airspace. That's a lot.
Lots of holes.
There's a lot of holes.
And Ken, my experience, of course, coming back from playing in my rock and roll band back in the 60s, I got back with Dad, and one of the first things he did was maybe I could manage the poinsettia crop. And so we were using pretty heavy garden soil mixed. We put some peat in there. But it was still, it wasn't a potting mix. And I lost the crop that year. We had to buy poinsettias because I lost the crop.
Was it root disease?
Rhizoctonia.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned the word rhizoctonia, because I took it into the government office, the plants. He looked up Pascal P. Pyrone's plant disease book.
Yeah.
And the first thing it said with poinsettias that you have to have a real open, airy mix with poinsettias.
Yeah.
They're a desert plant. I mean, virtually not a desert plant, but a very dry. They grow in the it's a euphorbia, and they grow in the ditches in Mexico. And so once I learned that, we transferred that information to all our plants, and we started buying in a soil mix. But for a long time, we mixed our own, and that's where that potting mix that we
the
would make.
Inconsistency, yeah.
We would make that potting mix and sterilize it like we used to do.
Yeah.
That's where that all came from, was right after that poinsettia failure. And we started making our own soil.
And we've come a long way since then. What year would that have been in the 70s?
73.
73, yeah.
73 when I...
And I just, I recall going to seminars in the U.S. Throughout, I guess, the 80s, some in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and all the way along they're changing and upgrading and learning more and more about the plants. And it's just amazing. So today, in the 2020s, we're so many miles ahead. It's the same with the health industry, how much farther we are ahead today than we were even just 10 years ago.
That's right.
It's the same in the plant world, is that they are pushing to learn stuff, and they're learning so fast. That
it's kind of like exponential, but there's also same old stuff rising.
There's old stuff that still applies. But it's, some of those are, like we always say, okay, you have to allow plants to dry out between waterings. And when they're in containers, that is particularly. So when you have plants in containers, they have to dry out between waterings. And why? To let more oxygen in. Okay, so there you go. And then depending on the type of soil that you have, some types of soil are just better at holding moisture. So even when they feel dry to the touch, there's still a small amount of moisture in there. So it's going to be interesting moving into the future here, because peat moss will become no longer. I mean, it's already no longer overseas in areas of, in Europe and those areas. They're already getting away from peat soils, moving more to coconut coir and other wood composted
renewable
stuff. And it's proving to be quite good. But they're still applying the same science to those particular things. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, we're going to have to take another short break here, and we will be back with the Garden Show after that short break. Well, I have a new saying, Ken. Fasciation is fascinating.
Yes.
It's so fascinating.
Completely fascinating.
I was doing my coleus cuttings a couple of weeks ago, and one of my coleus had totally fasciated. Split. The top was just this beautiful. I got this cutting. I took the top off, and I'm rooting that, and I'm hoping it stays fasciated. Now, fasciation is when it's. I kind of looked up here. Fasciation is which normally the apical meristem, and you talk about that for a bit, growing tip, the growing tip, which is normally concentrated around a single point and produces approximately cylindrical tissue, instead becomes elongated perpendicularly to the direction of the growth, thus producing flattened, ribbon-like crested or crustate or elaborately contorted tissue. Fascination may also cause the plant parts to increase in weight and volume, and in some instances, the phenomenon may occur in the stem, root, flower, or flower head. Fascinating, and fasciation is fascinating.
It is. It's very cool.
We've got Jack calling in from from Kelowna. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning. Look, I've been out and about, so I might have missed this. Is it time to put in the tomato and peppers?
Well, technically not, but I've got mine. I got my tomatoes and peppers out now, Jack, because I pushed the envelope a bit. But the farmers will tell you it doesn't help to get them out early. They sit and they shiver, and they don't do much until the 24th of May weekend and beyond, depending on the year. I think this year it's going to be nice and warm, but I've got mine out, so live it up.
Well, that cheering you hear in the background is from the plants. So happy to be able to get out of their little plastic boxes.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Now, Jack, I've got the most beautiful yellow calla lily blooming in my container.
It's blooming already.
Oh yeah, It's blooming already because I had them growing in the greenhouse.
Oh, you did. Oh,
I cheated.
You cheated.
I cheated, but I'm telling you,
good.
It's a beautiful yellow. Now, are all the ones you gave me all yellow?
Some of them are white. Some are yellow. I don't know. Of course, you can't tell from the bulb. I don't keep them separate, but. Yeah.
Some are white and some are yellow. And how tall? Normally, these are about maybe 2 feet tall.
Yeah, that's about as high as they will go. And they have these beautiful ceramic-like flowers on them, either yellow or I think you got other colors, yellow and white, but those are the ones that I have.
It's so pure. It's just incredible. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And would you like a few Barcelona beans?
Barcelona beans.
Well, they're the ones that climb to the roof.
Well, I don't know if I got a spot for them.
Okay, all right. If you haven't got a spot, then. But I think I sent you a picture of them last year.
Yeah.
They're 20 feet high.
Wow.
That's incredible. I mean, I could probably put, one at the end of Well, come by and have a look at my tropicals, Jack. I've got them out now.
I will.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks very much,
Take care.
guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
So we get back onto fasciation here. It can be caused by hormonal imbalances in the meristematic cells of plants. Hormonal imbalances in the meristematic cells of plants, which are cells where growth can occur. Fasciation can also be caused by random genetic mutation. Bacterial and viral infections can also cause fasciation. The bacteria phytopathogen Rhodococcus fasciens has been demonstrated as one of the causes of fasciation, such as in sweet peas, Lathyrus odoratus plants, but many fasciated plants have tested negative for the bacteria in studies. Hence, bacterial infection is not an exclusive causation. Very interesting stuff. And I don't know if anybody else has any fasciation stories. I've seen Gerber daisies fasciated. I had my
trees.
I had a double. I had my big hibiscus moschutus summer storm last year or the year before. One stem fasciated, and I had what it looked like a huge double blossom on it. Because
you've got lots of cactus that are fasciated. Like the Opuntia cristata.
Cristata,
is one,
and that's a naturally occurring fasciation. That
but it's still. I think it's it's a DNA mutation.
It's a mutation.
It's a mutation. So then also you have that beautiful one that you got from Dwayne that you had it just sitting in that's a fasciation as well.
Yeah.
What a beautiful.
That's
thing.
a euphorbia.
It's weird, but we've seen lilies. I had a picture of one lily on one stem that came up, and it had 132 blooms on it.
Wow.
132. Yeah. It was an oriental lily. And so the top of it was about 3.5 feet across.
Yeah.
Just insane with all this huge ball. And that was what that was, right? And then, of course, cherry trees, it's common on many different types of plants. So it's not, I think it's just if you're a plant, you are at some point potentially susceptible to this thing, which is not a really bad disease. It just doesn't look like the rest of the plant.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes it's quite attractive.
Yeah. It's sort of weird fan-shaped thing on the end of the branch. Yeah. And then sometimes you can root those things and keep it growing like that, and that's how we end up with some of these really weird-looking succulents and other weird-looking plants, and even conifers suffer the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it is very interesting. One of those things that we are fascinated by.
We are fascinated by fascination.
Yeah. So the Flower Power Garden Tour is on June 15th. That's in Kelowna here.
Yeah.
With 9 exceptional gardens. You can look up Flower Power Garden Tour online, and we'll be helping with that. And Ken, you're going to be on one of the gardens.
Yep. All works out well. I'll be out on one of the gardens there, answering gardening questions and showing people around.
It's cool.
It's a very nice, the Flower Power Garden Tour is fabulous. I think they're planning it now, I think, every second year. And then
alternating
with Lake Country. Lake Country Garden Tour will be next year. But speaking of Lake Country, the Lake Country Garden Club is having their plant sale today. So if you want to scoop some cool plants and that sort of thing from the and to help support the Lake Country Garden Club, you can just go to Swalwell Park. Swalwell Park. It's just right downtown sort of area where all the roundabouts are, and right beside the new school, right across from I think it's Hank Grenda's school. Fabulous spot, beautiful park setting. It's going to be a nice place for a sale, and it's on right now.
Well, that's exciting. And, of course, the Oxa plant sale is on today.
Yeah, and that's out on Old Vernon Road, which is Reed's Corner at the end of Sexsmith there. Sexsmith and Old Vernon Road kind of come together there. Call it Reed's Corner, and just head to the east, and you'll see Wild Bloom Nursery there. And that's the place to go to get some drought-tolerant plants and talk to master gardeners and all that kind of thing. It's really a big event.
Yes, and I just want to put the word out, too, that if there are any events, garden tours, fundraisers, plant sales, anything like that.
Fintry tomorrow.
And Fintry tomorrow, too, as well. In Victoria or Penticton, give us a shout, because you can let people know that that's going on. I mean, it's always a cool thing to have the radio show being able to let people know some of these garden events going on, and some non-garden events. One of the ones that I look forward to, and I don't know the date of it, is the machine and tractor show that's held at the Father Pandozzi's mission property there.
Oh, yeah.
And I go to that just about every year. It's fascinating to see these old steam engines and old tractors and old equipment, and what they used to use out in the farms and whatnot.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Just utilizing steam is fascinating, and it's so much power.
So much power and so quiet. Once you got that internal combustion engine, it's got bang, 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 bang. You hear all the explosions. Steam is because it's just a fire burning, causing the steam, and you just hear that beautiful sound of the
heat powers the world.
Yeah, very
unless
cool.
It's water, then it's hydro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, at this time of year, this is when we get the question constantly, is it time to put my stuff out?
Yeah, we're getting close. It's just that nighttime temperature, and like last night, I had a low at my house of plus 13. 14, I think.
Yep.
So, like, that's warm enough.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
fine.
yeah. Yep.
But when I look ahead to next week, well, it's not so bad, really. I think they're showing 7-8 degrees at night. So it's not that great for some tropicals, and depending where you live. Where you live, it's a little bit warmer, so you might not hit those temperatures.
Oh, see,
Where I live, I might even get, who knows, I got to watch for that frost that sneaks down out of the hillsides.
Well, my greenhouse is bursting at the seams, so I'm trying to get stuff out as much as I can.
Yeah, my house is bursting at the seams.
I know. Ruth Rushton, our old friend Ruth Rushton, who was a client for years and years and years, and she's since passed away, but she was an avid gardener, and her family was avid gardeners. She said that her grandfather told her that you can't put stuff out until the ground feels comfortable to the bare bottom. And folks, I'll leave you with that one. We've got to take a short break, and then we're going to have another 15 minutes of Garden Show after this. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, we're down to the final 10 minutes of the show, but we do have a caller coming in, and it's Debbie from Kelowna. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Ken and Don. How are you?
We're well, thanks. I was wondering if it was you, dear.
Well, I just wanted to ask you guys if you wouldn't mind speaking to the issue that I see a lot in my gardens that I look after, and it's trees that have they start to leaf out when they should, they look like they're all going to be okay. Then just the bottom part of the tree really leaves out well, and the top either just gets stunted with the leaf coming out, or there's nothing at the top. So first of all, you know, is it worth saving? And second of all, you know, I mean, we all know topping a tree is terrible, but will next year that come back if there is, you know, you do the scratch test, obviously, and if the top part is still green, but it's from this winter. We've had so much dieback. I get it, but
it's all over, Deb, and like. And it's really interesting. Varieties mean something, too. Across the street from us at Jared's place, a young fellow and his wife that live there, he's got a walnut that's frozen right back to about halfway down. Then my other neighbor over here, to the other side of the house, their walnut's fine. And then I talked to Sal Caruso. His walnut is great. His both neighbors' walnuts are toast.
Dead.
And so it does... It is the winter that we just had because of that frost. Now, what species are we talking about in general, Deb?
Well, I've noticed it on my property, magnolias and maples. Maples are almost done. Little, you know, the
Japanese maple?
Japanese maple, the smaller ones. And they're just, you know, I've pulled out so many. Yeah, and they just look terrible, right?
Yeah, it's varietal, right? So, like with me, my magnolia might be dead as well. So, because I've got Magnolia globosa, that particular strain of magnolia is a kind of a known Zone 6 plant. Most magnolias are Zone 5, Zone 4. So they're, like I say, 95% magnolias will grow quite happily here in the Okanagan. But it just happened that the one that I have when I moved in, I identified it right away. It was easy to identify. And then over the years, it often freezes out. The buds don't open. Mine is just starting to push leafage now from the bottom. The top is still barren. And I think that, again, the frost has just killed most of the top growth. And then
so it is the frost then that got the top. It's not a root issue.
No, and then what you do is as you go along, it's up to your patience. But I'm going to wait about another week or so. And then, but I saw a big change just last 2 days. So suddenly it's starting to push. And then once those leaves get out and get opened, they start rebuilding and reconstructing the cells in the branches, and the sieve tubes all get repaired. But it's not until the leaves get going that happens. So we don't really know the full recovery until they get those leaves out and opened up. And then, there will come a time I'll have to go out. I'm going to have to make some serious decisions whether I want to retrain an entire tree from the bottom up, or just cut out the top growth, or say goodbye to the tree.
Yeah. Well, I went out this morning and had a talk with my Twombly maple, and I said, you have 2 weeks to get going, or you're out of here.
Yep. Sometimes you gotta, that's what's that called? It's like tough love.
Yeah, tough love. Well, Deb, you do a great job out there, and you've got some great customers, and I'm sure that you're going to see some devastation in the gardens this year.
Oh, incredible! The lavenders, I'm pulling out lavenders everywhere I go. Yeah, roses, everything. Yeah, it was terrible, but I just thought other people might have that issue, and they don't know, should they chop that top part off, and then you have this.
Well, and cutting a tree back, you don't have to top it. You can do what they call drop pruning, and going to an outward-facing branch that's at least a third of the size of the one that you remove. The outward-facing branch that you leave should be at least a third of the size of the branch that you remove. So, and that methodology is appropriate to reduce the height of the tree without topping it
and making it really ugly. You have to stand back and look at it and say, is this worth it, or is it going to look really goofy?
Well, Doug Hoyle, who is an old friend of ours, a mutual friend, Ken and I, and Doug never did get his certification in arboriculture, But he should have, because he was so knowledgeable. He's the one that told me about included bark before he told me about all sorts of topping and drop pruning and everything before I even took my certification. And he was he is very, very bright guy. Anyway, the last tree he pruned here in Kelowna was the big beech tree on the corner of Sauchier, I think it's Sauchier and Ethel. Right on the corner there, that huge, big copper beech, right? He climbed that tree, and he pruned that tree, and I've got before and after pictures of it. He took 2 truckloads of stuff away from that.
Big trailer loads.
Big trailer loads of material away, and the two pictures I took, you couldn't tell that it didn't. They looked exactly the same. And so a lot of times,
that's proper pruning.
That's proper pruning. You betcha.
Yeah.
And people will say, well, what did you do?
That sale effect as well, right? By taking out and letting that, and it helps for disease management and all sorts of things, I could say.
Oh, yeah. And that tree, that tree looks good this year. It's really looking good. And incredible since that they did that big building beside it. But they did the proper methodology where they fenced off the tree, and there wasn't you weren't able to touch that area of where the tree was fenced off out to the drip line. They did a fantastic job of saving that big tree, and it's one of Kelowna's real heritage trees. There was one in Victoria, though, the one at the Rhodes College, where there's a copper beech there that we talked about when I was taking my course there. Arborist course. It's twice the size of this one in Kelowna. It's incredible size.
It's 200 years old.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. It's beautiful. Debbie, we always appreciate hearing from you.
I'm also just on a quick note to both of you, because I know you've both seen it, but I'm still saving the old grapevine.
Oh yes, wow. Yes. That's an amazing vine. Yep.
It's not been dug out yet. Hopefully the new owners, the place is up for sale, but hopefully the new owners, I can teach them how incredible that is.
You should put a sign on it, because it's don't cut this stuff. It's like the folks across the street, whenever a new family moves into this home across the street where this Sorbus decora, the showy mountain ash is, I said, I walk up, give them some muffins.
Nice to meet you.
Here's nice to meet you. Here's some muffins. Don't touch that tree. Anyway, Deb, take care.
Okay, you guys have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Deb.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
So we're right down to at the end of the show here, and we do appreciate all your calls today, and we really enjoy the fact that we hear folks from Victoria. And we'd like to hear from folks from Penticton. Yep. And also, we want to suggest that if you have any events, think about it for next week. If you've got something you want to talk about on the air, we're more than willing to do that for you.
Yep, you betcha. It's gardening season out there, folks. So let's get out and do some gardening today. Pick up some of these gardening sales, because you got to check out Oxa, the Oxa sale out on Old Vernon Road, and then at Swalwell Park in Lake Country.
And Fintry
is on tomorrow. Yeah,
from 10
Mother's
to 4.
Day.
10 to 4.
They have a big event out at Fintry, so look it up and be there or be square.
You betcha. We're now going to start the tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is this. If birds keep checking out your birdhouse, they don't move in, they keep poking their little faces in the birdhouse, and then come back out, and they're trying to figure something out. Check it out. There could be a tiny wasp nest in there. And we found this birdhouse we've had up there for 3 years, the one that you use to show the branches up. We've had it up there for 3 years, and the birds never get in there, but we opened it up, and here's this tiny little wasp nest. It's not alive or anything, but it's there, and it bugged them. They just decided it was empty. So here we go. And my plant of the week, of course, is the bloomerang lilac, Syringa penda bloomerang. Mine is just fabulous this year.
Fabulous. All right, now I have a tip in a plant. My tip of the week is that when you're applying fertilizer to any type of soil, whether it's in the ground or in pots, make sure you moisten the soil first before you apply it. You get a better result. Get the soil a little bit moist, put your fertilizer down, and then water it in a little bit with just a little bit of fresh water afterwards. That generally helps to get the nutrients down where they're needed. All right, now my plant of the week this week was Dichondra. Dichondra is this beautiful little silvery-looking vine that hangs out of planters and baskets. It's a trailer, and it's one of the better ones. I just find it's a beautiful little plant. It goes great in your annual planters. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
You betcha. And now it's time for the Shigo quote of the week. This is Dr. Alex Shigo. And, hey, I've just joined his group on Facebook.
Oh,
so, yeah,
I should
Shigo
do that
group.
too.
Yeah,
I'll
you
look
betcha.
it up.
As information increases, the need for more detail increases. That's as simple as that. And that is the end of the show, folks. We are going to say goodbye. We'll see you next week with more of The Garden Show.